This is RTV6 News at 11, working for you.
And they should fire the men that are bad and keep the ones that are good, that are protecting the students, not harming the students.
It's now more than 1 year after accusations of sexual misconduct first surfaced against a Central Indiana teacher. But controversy stemming from how the school and district handled those allegations continues to grow. Good evening to you at 11 o'clock. I'm Mark Mullins.
And I'm Amanda Starantino. This is a story Call 6 Investigates has been on top of from the beginning.
Today, many Tri-West High School students made their feelings known about the firing of a staff member by walking out of class. Tri-West fired Attendance Secretary Dave Pyatt this week after he talked only to RTV6. He, along with many parents and community members, questioned how administrators handled claims against teacher Tyler Bruce. Bruce is accused of sexual misconduct with a student. Pyatt says he saved surveillance video evidence related to the allegations and shared it with law enforcement and RTV6 because he did not trust the district to preserve that footage. Many students say the firing sends the wrong message.
Coming here and being ashamed of where I come from now and being ashamed that our school board or anybody has done nothing about it and that they fired somebody for doing the right thing before they fired anybody else involved in this investigation is ridiculous.
That the school corporation has not been dealing with. They refuse to acknowledge our problems and they aren't doing what's right. So we're trying to get them the message that they should do the right thing and reconsider their choices.
In a letter to parents, the interim superintendent says students who participated in this walkout, which took place after a planned fire drill, were counted as unexcused if they did not return to class. Northwest Hendricks officials declined RTV6's request to speak on camera about that surveillance video that contributed to today's walkout. Instead, the district released a statement regarding Pyatt's termination saying, quote, "The basis for his discharge includes multiple incidents over the school year of insubordination, unprofessionalism, and disruptive behavior in violation of board policy, staff handbook, and federal law."
And the school board is scheduled to meet on Tuesday night. Pyatt's firing is renewing some calls for members of the board to resign.
You guys just need to start doing the right thing. You've had several chances to do the right thing and you continue to fail, and you're just looking out for yourselves and trying to cover everyone's back, and it's finally starting to come down on you, and I think it's good that it's coming down on you. The right thing needs to be done, and the people that don't want to do the right thing need to get out.
Myself and a number of parents and community members have actually been working on petitions to have requested the school board step down.
Tyler Bruce is still employed with the school district. He faces child seduction and obstruction of justice charges. He denies the allegations and has not responded to RTV6's repeated request for comment. For more in-depth reporting on the Tri-West controversy, including our exclusive interview with Dave Pyatt and the surveillance video he shared with RTV6, go to our website, theindychannel.com.
Our job is not done today with today's press conference.
A vow to keep pushing for change to Indiana's sexual assault law. All of these pink pieces of paper contain stories of Hoosiers who have survived rape and other sexual violence. Women for Change brought those stories to the State House as part of the Clothesline Project to create awareness among lawmakers about the extent of this problem. RTV6's Cornelius Hawker is covering this story since last fall. And Cornelius, the legislative session, it's winding down. So has this message got through to legislators, to lawmakers?
Well, Mark, yes and no. A House bill that would have clearly defined consent didn't even get a hearing this session, but lawmakers did come to Women for Change's event today, pledging that they support this cause.
Go through and read some of these postcards. It will bring you to your knees. It will bring you to tears.
That's what Rima Shahid wants everyone to do as she and others continue to push for a state law that defines consent, especially in the context of rape.
Currently in the state of Indiana, no doesn't mean no.
Right now in Indiana, sex is considered rape if one party forces or threatens the other with force. It's also considered rape if a person is unconscious or incapacitated due to a mental disability. But Rima says that doesn't go far enough.
As parents, as families, we want to do everything we can to protect our children, and it's unfortunate that the law is not on our side right now.
Domestic violence and sexual assault survivors spoke at the State House, while those who can actually change the state law listened.
We had a number of lawmakers, men and women from both sides of the aisles that came out to support our initiative. We're going to continue to gather most postcards so that come January we can go to our lawmakers and say, this is how many postcards we have on behalf of this many Hoosiers from across the state that have really sent a clear message that we need to pass comprehensive consent legislation.
Now, all those pink pieces of paper you saw filled with stories from sexual assault survivors from all over Indiana's 92 counties will be at the State House for the next 2 weeks.
Well, Cornelius, we've seen how the current definition of rape in state law has actually been used to acquit someone who's accused of rape.
Yeah, no, this story happened back in 2017. A Purdue student was in her boyfriend's bedroom in their dorm, and it was dark, and she says that someone came into the bedroom and she thought it was her boyfriend. This guy gets behind her and they briefly have sex. Turns out it was actually her boyfriend's friend, and even though that friend admitted he knew that she thought that he was her boyfriend, technically what he did was not illegal, and that is just one situation why Women for Change want consent clearly defined.
So much to iron out still.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right, Cornelius Hawker shining light on this tonight. Thanks.
Thanks.
And new at 11, police say 2 women involved in an accident on the south side of Indianapolis were hurt by another vehicle while they were exchanging information. According to investigators, the women were standing outside of their vehicles on US 31 at Banta Road around 8:30 this evening when a car hit them. 2 people in that car were also hurt. Police say all of the victims are expected to survive.
A compromise could prevent possible roadblocks for the next phases of a major public transportation project. We told you last week an amendment to a state bill would create penalties for Indigo if it does not raise 10% of the funding for its projects from private donations. Well, that could have a big impact on the purple and blue lines. Today, Indiana House Speaker Brian Bosma said a lawmaker is trying to create benchmarks to phase in the 10% rule, but there is no agreement yet. The legislative session ends next week.
It is still winter, but instead of snow, repairing the street took center stage today. The Department of Public Works announced the first phase of this year's strip patching operations. 4 roads will be repaired this week, including a stretch of Hannah Avenue on the south side, where officials spoke this morning. Strip patching is a more permanent solution than filling potholes.
With the help of both DPW employees and $4 million in construction contracts for strip patching, Indianapolis will use this effective technique to prioritize safe travel along our roadways.
Parts of 79th, 21st, and Meridian are the other streets scheduled for strip patching this week.
Eastern Hancock schools will be back open tomorrow after shutting down for 2 days due to illnesses. There are roughly 1,200 students in the district. Early this week, the absentee rate topped 20%. Well, when that happens, the state recommends closing schools. The superintendent says students called in sick with illnesses like the flu, strep throat, bronchitis, but he stresses there is no coronavirus outbreak in the district.
And there are no confirmed coronavirus cases in Indiana, but the outbreak is still impacting people in the Hoosier State. UND, IU, and Purdue are the latest schools to cancel all university-sponsored spring break student travel to international locations. Indiana officials say in addition to exposure risks, student travelers could unexpectedly face U.S. and foreign travel restrictions while abroad. UND says its policy is in effect at least through the end of May.
More cases of COVID-19 are being reported across the U.S. ABC's Megan Tevrizian has the latest on how communities, companies, and Congress are responding to the outbreak.
The Senate today approving an $8.3 billion funding bill to combat the COVID-19 virus.
The bill is passed.
The novel virus prompting Seattle area district schools to close for 22,000 students for 14 days in an effort to slow down the outbreak, the state with the most COVID-19 deaths. Now, federal investigators asking questions at the nursing home where nearly a dozen people died. Families of the victims looking for answers on what went wrong.
Last time I saw her was last Sunday before the quarantine. She called me on Saturday. We spoke. And I asked how she was doing. She didn't really understand what was going on.
Off the coast of San Francisco, the Coast Guard dropping off testing kits to the Grand Princess cruise ship by helicopter to test passengers and crew potentially infected with the new virus. After an elderly woman died from being exposed during a cruise on the same ship last month. Some passengers showing symptoms, the ship not being allowed to dock.
We're just a little bit alarmed. If we've been exposed, we've been exposed, and there's not much we can do about it.
The virus impacting the economy, too. The Dow plunging 970 points. Some of the hardest hit companies, airlines. The International Air Transport Association estimates global revenue losses between $63 and $113 billion. Megan Tevrizian, ABC News, New York.
The story tomorrow morning, wind chill temperatures in the teens. We'll talk about how windy and some snow showers as well.
And there's a growing buzz around the desperate need for sheep shearers in Indiana. How you could earn hundreds of dollars in a day's work. You're watching RTV6 News at 11.
Shop and save today at Ashley Home Store.
This is RTV6 News at 11, working for you.
The list of Democratic presidential candidates that will be on the ballot when it's time to vote in the Indiana primary is getting smaller. Senator Elizabeth Warren is no longer in the race. ABC's Serena Marshall has the latest on where the campaigns go from here.
From nearly 30 Democratic hopefuls to 3, Senator Elizabeth Warren saying goodbye on Thursday to the presidential race.
I will not be running for president in 2020.
Bowing out after a disappointing showing on Super Tuesday, even failing to win her home state of Massachusetts. The race now a two-man show. Tulsi Gabbard still running, however, with only one delegate, her path to victory virtually impossible.
All those little girls who are going to have to wait 4 more years. That's going to be hard.
Former Vice President Joe Biden racking up 10 states on Super Tuesday, knocking Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders out of frontrunner status. The big comeback after endorsements from his former rivals, including Michael Bloomberg yesterday.
Defeating Donald Trump starts with uniting behind the candidate with the best shot to do it.
Leading to accusations that Biden's backers in the Democratic establishment are ganging up on Sanders.
An establishment of all those hard-working middle-class people, those African-Americans,
Sanders trails Biden in the popular vote and delegates, struggling to bring out the younger voters he appeals to.
Have we been as successful as I would hope in bringing young people in? And the answer is no.
As for who Warren will endorse for the Democratic nomination, she's not saying for now.
Not today. Not today. I need some space around this and want to take a little time to think a little more.
Serena Marshall, ABC News, Washington.
Today, an Indianapolis funeral home in the community made sure the lives and service of 3 veterans are not forgotten. Sproul Funeral and Cremation Care arranged a funeral for 3 service members who died this year in Marion County. No one claimed their remains. 64-year-old Gary Haig, 67-year-old Leland Wall, and 74-year-old Richard Clay Messina all died in January. The funeral home invited the public to attend the church service on Georgetown Road near 62nd Street on the northwest side. Dozens of people who never knew the men paid their respects.
In the military is a family. And we believe, whether we knew each other personally or not, that we're all one. As a result of that, and especially in light of the fact they've labeled these gentlemen as unclaimed, the reality is they're not unclaimed. They're our brothers. And because of that, we're here to eulogize them and give honor back for the honor they gave to this country.
The Sproul Funeral Home has claimed and held services for other veterans, including 2 last month.
The Indianapolis Animal Care Shelter is once again so overcrowded, portable crates are being used for dogs because the kennels are completely full. IACS says right now all adoptions are free. That includes microchips, spay, neuter, and all age-appropriate vaccines. If you cannot add a pet to your family right now, there are other ways to help, including fostering, volunteering, or donating supplies.
What's being called the American Idol of ballet kicked off tonight in grand fashion with grand pliés. The Palladium in Carmel is hosting auditions for Youth America Grand Prix. YAGP is a nonprofit international student ballet competition and scholarship program. Hundreds of aspiring dancers from across Indiana are competing, like 9-year-old Phoebe Ingram.
I'm really excited. I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm excited to get the experience from being at this competition. And I've worked really hard, so I really hope I do good.
The students with the highest scores will move on to the finals in New York next month. Auditions continue through Sunday.
I really hope Phoebe does good too. She's so cute. Oh my goodness.
Amazingly poised, even though she said, I'm a little nervous.
Right.
She was honest.
Cold is one way to look at tomorrow, but it's temporary. So you get past that.
Just get through Friday.
Teens tomorrow for wind chills, 60 degrees for the high on Sunday. If you're keeping track of these milestones, we're inching closer, spring forward with the clock over the weekend, and just a couple weeks now until spring officially arrives, and clock ticking toward the Indianapolis 500. Okay, if you look at northern Illinois, you begin to see the snow showers and flurries. This is not a lot, but it is rotating in and a signal of the colder air filtering into the state tonight while we sleep. Temperatures tomorrow will be in the 30s from start to finish. Won't see much of a temperature change. 1 a.m., maybe some sprinkles or light rain showers mixing with some snow. That's the pink and blue you see at 4 a.m. as well. By the time we get to 7 a.m., there are some flurries, snow showers. This will continue to march to the east through the morning hours and early afternoon, and we may have some sunshine later in the day. Flurries, temperatures low to mid 30s. That's only part of the story, though. The wind, once again, will gust 30 miles per hour or stronger during the day. Temperatures in the teens for wind chills only move into the 20s, so it will feel much colder than our 38-degree high. Temperatures makes progress Saturday, 49. Highlight of the weekend is that 60-degree temperature on Sunday. There's the strong wind out of the northwest. Won't take long. We'll change the wind direction starting Saturday. That will pay dividends for the second half of the weekend. As cool as temperatures we'll see within the 7-day forecast, even looking beyond, we still hint at above average temperatures continuing as we roll through March. Temperatures upper 30s in the southern portion of the state as well. Overnight lows will come back into the mid 30s for the second half of the weekend. There's your clock change when you go to bed Saturday night into Sunday morning. The wind out of the south will pick up in strength Saturday. That will transport the warmer temperatures into the state. A little bit Saturday, you'll really feel the difference as we get to Sunday. There are the highs upper 40s to around 50, and then voila, right around 60 degrees on a Sunday. Early next week, rain arrives. Beginning of the week, 58 with rain around. We'll still have the shower potential as we get to Tuesday and Wednesday, but rain chances a little lower then. Here's your 7-day planner. As we mentioned, temperatures cold for 24 hours and then above average the rest of the 7-day forecast. Dave?
Well, we've been waiting on this one in San Francisco. Tonight, the Warriors' Steph Curry making a long-awaited return. Broken bone in his left hand back in the fall. Some 3 months and 58 games later, reason to dance, back in a game, taking on the Raptors, a 2-time league MVP and 3-time world champ. And guess what? In 2 weeks, he'll play in town against the Pacers March 18th. That's a 7:30 tip on ESPN. Look forward to that. Hey, good evening. Can't wait for tomorrow either. Sectional semifinals on the line in high school hoop. A ton of really good matchups in our Hoosier Hoop Hysteria coverage, including Zionsville, Westfield. Part of that tough Noblesville section. We'll be there live tomorrow during the news at 6. Meanwhile, second round of the Big Ten Women's Tournament downtown. Purdue and Michigan State in the opener. Great start for the Boilermakers. Carissa McLaughlin led the scoring with 17 points. Purdue led by as many as 14 in the first half. Ariana Harris, the former Lawrence North Star, she added 15. Purdue advances 72-64, their 18th victory of the season.
We always say we prepared for this all season. Like when we go to our Thanksgiving trip, you know, we play 3 games in 3 days, so it's kind of similar. So we've prepared for this, and you know, it's a fresh start, and it's tournament time. You know, it's do or die, so we have to lay everything out there and leave with no regrets.
Purdue plays Maryland tomorrow at high noon. IU game 2. They get Rutgers around 2:30. Speaking of Purdue, that time of year for the football team, spring ball is underway, and great to see wide receiver number 4 Rondale Moore back out there. The junior missing much of last season with a hamstring, but not out there. Fellow receiver David Bell. Former Warren Central star had surgery on a torn labrum in December. Played with it really the entire season. Expected to be back by the fall.
I think getting Big Ten Freshman of the Year was a big accomplishment, but, you know, there's always room for improvement, and I just think if I just keep my head down and keep working in the weight room, keep the film studying up, then I'll have a better year next year, too.
Hang in there, David. Finally, first and foremost, from the NFL, a lot of buzz today that our friends at ESPN are closing in on a deal to put Peyton Manning in the Monday Night Football booth, pairing him with longtime ABC sports announcer Al Michaels. What a booth that would be. The price, by the way, rumored for Peyton, around $20 million a season, which would eclipse the $17 million that Tony Romo is reportedly getting over at CBS. So stay tuned.
Wow, we were wondering.
I'd be all about that. Al Michaels and Peyton Manning in the booth.
And driving around the car, too.
That would be good, too. In an old Corvette.
And you earn that money without ever taking any contact. You know,
Not at all. Yeah. Perk, perk, perk. Win, win, win.
We'll be right back.
Really get the perfect match that will set them up for success.
For more than a year, Hiring Hoosiers has connected you to job opportunities in every industry you can imagine, from pilots to porta potty workers.
But this is a first. There's a shortage of sheep shearers. Roughly a couple dozen people are trained for the job in the entire state.
And I found out you do not have to make this your life's work to make good money doing it. It is a shared skill in the Kennedy family.
My grandpa had sheep, and then my dad also had sheep, and they both sheared.
Colin Kennedy of Knightstown has been shearing since he was 13 years old. Now 27 with other full-time work. He shears part-time for farms across Indiana and neighboring states.
It's a great part-time to where you can still go to class and do this, or even, you know, someone that if you're working like a fireman or police or whatever, to where you're working a full shift and then you have a day or two off in between that you can come do something like this. It is good money for the hour.
His shearing skills keeps him busy. Colin is only one of about 20 professional shearers in Indiana.
I'm in high demand because not only do we go Indiana, we go into Kentucky and Ohio, Michigan, especially Kentucky, because there's nobody down there doing it, or Indiana, there's nobody doing it. And a lot of the older guys that have been doing it are starting to retire. I'd say within the next 15 years, I don't know that there will be hardly anyone even doing it. So they'll have to get people from out west or somewhere else to come in and do it.
It's a trend that local farmers like Gerald Kelly are keeping an eye on. Kelly is the Purdue University Sheep Unit's farm manager.
If it wasn't for the Kennedy family, we'd be really short on shears, and it'd be a lot harder for us to get sheep shears.
With 300 sheep in his flock, finding someone to give these animals their biannual haircuts is a necessity.
There's been a lot of them they retire from it or stop at different ages, everywhere from probably 50 to 70s. And there's been a lot of them retire in the last 5 to 8, 10 years.
On average, a sheep shearer will charge about $5 to $6 per head. So all in a day's work, you can make about $500 to $600 in a single day. There are roughly 57,000 sheep in the state based on the latest USDA inventory, and a little more than 40,000 were sheared last year. It's a job that is physically challenging, but for Colin, it's all worth it.
I do enjoy, like, working with my hands and working hard. I mean, I know, like I said, you know, it is hard, but I do enjoy actually working hard and feeling like you did a good day's work.
And if you are interested in getting in the sheep shearing business, Purdue will offer a day-long workshop on Saturday. For more info, go to hiringhoosiers.com. We'll be right back.
It's about the wind chill temp again. Very windy tomorrow. Temperatures in the 30s, but it will feel like 18. All of this is a temporary setback as our march continues toward actual spring.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah,
I love a good wind chill in your face.
60 on Sunday.
You know what? Just power through Friday. It's a Friday anyways. TGIF.
And then enjoy that weekend.
Then
We
you
got
a
it.
nice weekend.
It's all good, right?
Still a wind chill in your face.
It will be nice. Well, thank you so much for joining us.